Welcome into No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. I'm your host, Joe Zollo. This is another Look Inside episode, this time talking the Chicago Bears. One could argue a pretty viable fantasy football offense that is all due and all hinges on the shoulders of the former number one overall draft pick last year, Caleb Williams. It's a fun offense. They weren't great last year. All new head coach, all new offense, one of the best offensive minds in the entire NFL. We'll see how that shapes up this year. Let's get into it. Welcome into No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. A look inside episode number 10, I believe. The Chicago Bears.
Getting there.
It should be good, guys.
I was gonna say, I think we're going to probably have fun teams to talk about from this point forward. So,
well, there's the Colts.
We'll have a few duds.
But... Oh, that's right.
And the Steelers.
Oh my goodness, what was I thinking?
This is terrible. Yeah, we're not past the duds yet. No, we still got. We still got plenty of duds.
Well, hey, today's a good one.
Today's a good one. We hope. We all hope today.
Well, yeah, fingers crossed, big time.
We all hope today is a good one. 5-12 last year. I honestly thought they were a 7-win team. I did not realize they were that bad last year.
Yeah.
5-12. New coach, of course, new offense. Ben Johnson comes over from the Detroit Lions. It should be good, guys. We talked about in the Saints episode, I don't like Kellen Moore. It's giving Josh McDaniels vibes. I really hope Ben Johnson doesn't do that. I think Ben Johnson's better than that, but I don't know if he can handle a team. We'll see, and hopefully it all goes well there with Ben Johnson. Again, our ADPs that we run off of here for the projected starting offense is as of June 9th, as of the recording here. We use Underdog, so be sure to use the promo code WAF. Free pick, first time deposit, $1,000 cash. There's probably gonna be a lot of times that you make an Underdog roster or make some Underdog parlays that you will have at least one Chicago Bear
absolutely
in that parlay, even with this tough secondary here as well. And as we get into this, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, the video. We very much appreciate it because we're on
the doorstep. We're on the doorstep of 1,400 subscribers.
Yeah, we are. We want YouTube's money, and you can help us do that by subscribing.
Right. Google doesn't need that money. We do.
Oh, no. Google makes enough money.
Yeah.
Ryan doesn't. So Ryan really needs...
I do not.
Ryan really needs your money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Josh doesn't either.
Yeah.
Joe's fine. But he would also like more money.
Joe also has the coolest job of all of us. So,
well, yeah. Not everyone can beat me, Ryan. It's okay.
I know.
Yeah. All right. Quarterback 1 is Caleb Williams, obviously. Quarterback 10. RB1. DeAndre Swift is RB 37. We'll get to that in a second. Yeah. Roschon Johnson, RB 83.
Oof.
In Kyle Monogamy is running back 3. I assume it's Monongai. Monogamy is close enough.
I'm with
wide receiver 1, DJ Moore at wide receiver 16. Odunze at wide receiver 25. That's high. Burden at 46. And Olamide Zaccheaus.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, baby. Wide receiver 111. Colston Loveland, tight end 12. Cole Kmet is being drafted at tight end 20 for some reason.
Yeah.
Even though they just spent a top 10 pick on a tight end. We'll never understand that, though. All right. Some thoughts, expectations here. Ryan, I'll start with you.
For me, I don't know that I'm wrong here when I say this might be one of the most exciting offenses for me to project for the 2025 season. When you said we're hoping, we are certainly hoping. I was a person last year who was super high on Caleb Williams. It obviously did not work out. Ben Johnson seems like a great coordinator. I'm hoping it's going to work out. I like what DeAndre Swift brings to the table. I love what DJ Moore brings to the table. Odunze, like they're good at every position. And like we're already putting Caleb Williams on a clock and being like, if not this year, he's cooked in year 2. I don't know that we're wrong because the NFL, not for long. That's what it's there for. But overall, this fantasy-wise feels like there's no reason it should not be one of the most fun offenses to watch this year.
By far. At the end of the day, this offense, the guys we didn't mention, the offensive line is heavily improved.
Yeah, that was the first thing Ben Johnson spent money on when he took over.
So, I mean, Josh, at the end of the day, there should be no reason why at least Caleb, Swift, and DJ Moore at the very minimum are all sitting there at the end of the fantasy football season heavily outplaying their ADP.
Oh, yeah, 100%. But I want to preface this really quick. Hey, guys, do we remember when they acquired Keenan Allen and we were like, holy shit, this offense is going to be so much fun?
Well, at that point,
well,
I hadn't seen the picture of Keenan Allen yet where he was completely bald and overweight. So,
well, let's say that they didn't have a good coach.
This is true. They didn't have a good coach. They certainly didn't have a good play caller. So, and the offensive line was still dog shit. So, yes, it was definitely very premature. We have higher hopes this year, which is a good thing. Mm-hmm. The one thing that I always love, like, new coach or coordinator comes over, and then it becomes, all right, how are these pieces going to fit in so-and-so's scheme, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first thing Ben Johnson said in his introductory press conference, I can't wait to build this offense around Caleb Williams.
Yeah, it's not about
like a smart coach says.
Like a smart coach, exactly. You don't fit square pegs in round holes. You fit round pegs and round holes, plain and simple. Make things fit around that.
Sure.
Yep. I knew where you were going with it, Joe. I knew it.
Oh, I thought we were just going to talk about Josh is a master philosopher out here.
But there's still going to be similar elements because there's going to be things that the coach did well or saw that worked in his previous scheme. And so you're going to see a lot of those plays that will develop. And that's where you start to get excited, right? Can Odunze be that sort of like deep threat or a variation of it that helped Jameson Williams be a top 24 wide receiver last year? Can DJ Moore sort of replicate some of what Amon-Ra St. Brown did well, right? Can DeAndre Swift take on some level of a Jahmyr Gibbs or a David Montgomery or mold the two together, however they can do it? Is Colston Loveland the next Sam Laporta, right? There's all these pieces here that make you say, okay. And we know that Caleb Williams is a better talent than Jared Goff.
Yeah.
Now it becomes,
can he
what Jared Goff did well, can Caleb Williams replicate that or do it better? Because the 61% completion percentage is very far off from what Jared Goff did well. Jared Goff, for all of his downfalls, ran Ben Johnson's offense very well. Yeah. He just wasn't good enough to take it to the next level. Caleb Williams should be able to do that. But let's see what version of this Ben Johnson offense we get.
Yeah, and you're not going to see the same. You'll see semblances of what Goff did. But yes, a good coordinator. Tom Brady's not running the RPO, folks. Jalen Hurts is not a pocket passer. If you put Hurts in that offense and you put Brady in that offense, they suck. So if you put Williams in the Goff offense and you vice versa that, they're gonna be bad. Like it's just they're not at their most effective. So the fact,
and I think that's a thing that can open up with Ben Johnson. Caleb Williams has the athleticism. He can run some RPO concepts.
Yep.
Yeah. And DeAndre Swift spent a year in Philadelphia running an RPO offense. And he ran for over 1,000 yards doing it. And just saying, there's things that can work here.
We're going to go right into DeAndre Swift here. And before, Ryan, we go into your reasoning, because we're going to go would you rather. I'm not even going below, because that would just be that's simply mean.
I'm going to be interested if you can find a single player, but let's go for it.
I am going up the list until you tell me stop.
Okay.
And if you don't say anything, that means you're taking DeAndre Swift over this guy.
All right.
Straight up. So DeAndre Swift's currently RB 37, which is an 11th round pick right now.
Can we just start with this, Joe? Ryan, where do you have Swift in your rankings?
I don't want to say because I want to see how high we have to go up. He's my RB.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Okay.
Fair enough.
So 37 is Swift. 36, Brian Robinson Jr. Isaiah Pacheco, 35. Jordan Mason, 34. Zach Charbonnet, 33. ETN, 32. Cam Scatabo, 31. Ramondre Stevenson, 30. Jalen Warren, 29. Tony Pollard, 28. Aaron Jones.
Right there.
That's
I do
fine.
have Pollard ahead of Swift.
I give you that. Okay. 28. Aaron Jones, 27. Caleb Johnson, 26.
Aaron Jones, I do have one spot ahead of Swift because I think he is also a great value, but keep going.
Okay. Caleb Johnson, 26. Tyrone Tracy Jr., 25. Quinshawn Judkins, 24. James Conner, 23.
Conner, I have ahead of Swift.
That's fine. David Montgomery, 22. Najee Harris, 21. Alvin Kamara, 20.
I have Kamara ahead of.
Okay, Swift. So there you go. There's your. If you told me Pollard or you told me James Conner, I'm not a James Conner fan, but if you like James Conner, fine. You told me Pollard after his last year, sure. Aaron Jones being in the same conversation as David Montgomery, or not David Montgomery, DeAndre Swift, fine. You have to go 17 spots higher for these two to agree.
To agree on somebody.
To agree that this person, yeah, we would take him over DeAndre Swift. And Alvin Kamara is going 5 rounds ahead of DeAndre Swift.
So to answer Josh's question, I said it in a previous episode, I thought Calvin Ridley might be the best value in fantasy football. My tune has changed. I believe DeAndre Swift is the current best value in fantasy football, and it's not close.
He is get to your point.
Well, do you want to know what he is?
No, yeah, go ahead. Where is he for you?
RB 17, and I did not
I have him at RB 20.
I did not overproject him.
Okay, so. I have him at 20, and I still have him at. I actually have him at less than 900 yards.
I have him at 734 yards, Josh.
Oh Jesus!
Rushing.
Okay. So yeah. This is what I find interesting because I feel like so much of Swift's depressed ADP was the simple fact that everybody is leaning on. Well, Ben Johnson had Swift once and traded him after a season, so maybe they bring in Nick Chubb, maybe they bring in J.K. Dobbins. Well, now Nick Chubb is a Houston Texan and J.K. Dobbins is a Denver Bronco.
Not happy.
So over the next month, how high? Like, do we think that Swift's ADP is going to slowly start to? I mean, it has to, right?
Well, every draft I'm in is slowly contributing to moving him up.
so no, guys. DeAndre Swift's going to be horrible. He's 11th round pick.
That's true.
14th
I need him to stay low until August because this is ridiculous.
Go ahead.
I say, let me just throw a couple of quick things out because I went back and looked at what DeAndre Swift did with Ben Johnson. So 2022, Ben Johnson was the OC, but I don't want to discount 2020 and 2021. Ben Johnson was the passing game coordinator, and that very much matters for what I'm about to say. So in those 3 years in Detroit, DeAndre Swift, 114 carries, 151 carries, 99 carries. However, 8 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns. He still found the end zone when he wasn't getting all the carries. But the passing game work. 57 targets, 78 targets, 70 targets. Ben Johnson is throwing the ball to DeAndre Swift. Plain and simple. And in those years, 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns. He scored 8 touchdowns in his last season with Ben Johnson. 8 touchdowns on 147 touches. He doesn't even need the volume to be effective. He is a steal in fantasy drafts. There is no better player in fantasy football based on value than DeAndre Swift.
How many targets do you have him projected for?
68.
Okay. So I went even lower than that at 55 targets.
Yeah.
And I still have him as a top 20 running back. And the thing that I find interesting with Swift, in every year that he's played, he's never finished below RB 21 in points per game.
Yeah.
And we're out here drafting him at RB 37. Folks, what the fuck are we doing? Let's be honest here.
When I tell you
I went low on the targets projection, but a lot of that is just because Ben Johnson is part of the team that drafted Luther Burden, that drafted Colston Loveland.
Yeah.
So, like, to me, he's trying to find ways to not target DeAndre Swift, but we know he's still going to throw the football. I just don't know that it's going to be 70 targets. So, but he's going to see targets, and he's going to see plenty of them.
I'm telling you that I can't wait for my team to look like Jahmyr Gibbs Christian McCaffrey, Kieran Williams, Ramondre Stevenson, and DeAndre Swift at running back.
And still have wide receivers. The only thing that DeAndre Swift throws a hamper in is DJ Moore is your wide receiver 1, and I still don't know that I'm mad at that. You weren't mad if you had Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown last year.
Right.
Yeah. And then my wide receiver 1's going to be, I'm going to go Rashee Rice and Cortland Sutton. Thank you. Like, thank you for handing me the championship, folks. Like, I'll take Hunter Henry in the 14th, as we have talked about recently on the tight ends episode. So it's insane value. It doesn't make any sense. And for the people that are, that are like, well, they trade him away. They drafted
Jahmyr Gibbs.
They didn't trade him away and then draft a cornerback. No, they traded him away and then drafted who currently sits as a top 3 running back in the NFL. So they upgraded.
Yeah. And so when the Genty rumors were there, it didn't scare me off of DeAndre Swift. He's Ashton Genty. Of course you're going to take him if he falls to you.
Yes. Like, the generational talent says so. Now, we all did believe that Jahmyr Gibbs might have been a little bit of a reach at the time in that draft. Very clearly not.
Yeah, very clearly they knew what they were doing.
Yes, very clearly Dan Campbell. And, well, I forget the name of the GM. Somebody help me in Detroit. He hasn't missed. Plain and simple.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
The guy hasn't missed on draft picks recently.
I would say, that corner, what was it? The corner out of Ohio State or whatever. That did not work out well.
Jeff Okudah? I don't think he drafted him.
No, that was
not him. Okay. I didn't realize there was a GM change. Okay.
Drafted Kirby Joseph.
That's true.
So he has been on the money with, I would say, 70% of his draft picks. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with Brad Holmes is where so many other GMs are taking positional value and not reaching for players just based on overall skill. He's just taking the best player, regardless of whether or not they fit into a traditional value standpoint. Sometimes when he takes Jack Sawyer or whatever,
Jack Campbell, he didn't need a linebacker. Campbell,
there you go. A middle linebacker doesn't belong in the top 20 of an NFL draft. Campbell or Holmes says, I don't give a fuck. The kid can ball, and he's going to make my defense better. So
sometimes it's checkers, not chess. Don't overthink it.
He also didn't need a linebacker. He had Alex Anzalone. He didn't need one and still drafted him. So
well, and then Anzalone got hurt. So
yeah, exactly. R.I.P. Love Alex Anzalone. All right, this wide receiver, I love Rome Odunze. Don't get me wrong. Rome Odunze is one of the best talents at receiver coming out last year. He would, we said this almost every single week on this show. If Caleb Williams could hit the broadside of a fucking barn, Rome Odunze would have had 1,200 yards in 10 touchdowns.
And not for nothing, draft analysts, some had Odunze as their wide receiver 1. This was a conversation between Harrison, Neighbors, and Odunze that people said they were moderately interchangeable, and that's not for nothing. Don't write this kid off after 1 year.
Josh, before we go to you, just go back and if you don't believe any of us, watch ISO cams of Rome Odunze in coverage on all pass plays.
Yeah.
When I tell you he's open every play. It's we joke about that, DJ Moore's open every play, when realistically, he is open every play. Same thing with Larry Fitzgerald. We joke. No, the guy had beaten the Colts on 3 separate deep routes, and Caleb overthrew him on all 3.
Yep.
He had 3 touchdowns and 200 yards in the bag, but Caleb Williams missed his throws. All we got to do is rein in that accuracy.
Caleb just has to be better.
So, Josh, here's my worry. Wide receiver 25 feels a little high for this guy right now. That's my worry. That feels a little high.
Yeah. So there's a few points that I'm going to make here, and I'll kind of wrap the bow around it. So I'm going to preface this by saying Rome Odunze currently is the wide receiver 41 in my projections. Okay. And it's not because I don't like him. It's mainly just saying that I think there's going to be some issues when it comes to people are kind of drafting him at his perceived ceiling. You look at where Jameson Williams finished last year, wide receiver 22, being the second wide receiver in a Ben Johnson offense. that's basically the price that you're getting Rome Odunze for. But when you look at DJ Moore and sort of the camp rumbles with the attitude and things of that nature, this could also be really cheap, because if Rome Odunze takes over the DJ Moore role, or maybe even the Amon-Ra St. Brown role, and he's a top 10 draft capital wide receiver 25 is a screaming value, right? Like, he might finish as a top 10 wide receiver. But when you look at his 2024, over the last 3 seasons, his single season rate of catchable targets was the second worst in those 3 years.
So my eyes weren't wrong.
Caleb Williams could not hit the broadside of a barn. And the advanced analytics, they're saying that.
What, guys, when I tell you that with my eyes, I don't need advanced analytics bullshit, but when the advanced analytics back it up, it's a great day.
He was the 3rd target in this offense last year and still had 101
targets.
Yeah.
How many catches?
And a 53.5% catch rate.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's not his fault.
And he still managed 736 yards and 3 touchdowns on 13.6 yards per reception.
54 catches.
Yeah. It was a good season, but not a good season. It was one of those, like, my God, what could have been?
What could have been? Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah. Especially when, Keenan Allen didn't do a ton with the targets he had. DJ Moore really, he did okay with the targets he had. I believe he finished as the wide receiver 16. But again, you go to what Rome Odunze can do. He can play the deep threat role, but he could also play a big slot role as well. He's a very versatile wide receiver. So it's going to be really interesting to see where he fits within what Ben Johnson wants to run. But the one thing that I do know is that when you look at Rome Odunze, there isn't anybody else on this team that can do what Rome Odunze can do. When you look at DJ Moore, Luther Burden can do exactly what DJ Moore does. So that's what has me really excited for Rome Odunze's potential in this offense. But because of the unknowns, that's what makes it difficult for me to want to project it. But I do feel that he's going to be a top 2 target on this team. So that offers a sense of upside. But when you're drafting him at wide receiver 25, he just feels too expensive.
There's no upside.
Exactly.
I mean, Josh,
you're
you
hoping
painted the story
that DJ Moore gets traded. You're hoping that DJ Moore, finds himself on the outs with Ben Johnson, and then Rome Odunze elevates himself into the top target in this offense. Because if that happens, then yes, he's paying off on that price tenfold. But if everything stays where it is,
if this offense goes in looking like this, it's just not happening.
He's just too expensive, and that's the problem.
So I agree with that, and I think Odunze's ceiling is low teens. So I'm not saying that's where his ceiling is, but legitimately, you are there's not much more space for him to go up from where he's currently at.
With
and looking at
on the team,
looking at the guys around him now, less so. He's right next to Jameson Williams, and I
can't imagine you're going to find a single player that I would rather have than him. Near him.
Well, here we go.
I meant the other way around. I would rather have him than. I feel like he's just so hot.
Yes.
So yeah.
So you have Rashee Rice. That's not even a question. That's Rashee Rice. Devonta Smith.
I love Devonta Smith.
Yeah. Jameson Williams.
See, that's close for me
over Williams.
I was gonna say that's close for me. If I'm betting on 2 big play wide receivers, one that is in Ben Johnson's offense and the one that's going to miss Ben Johnson's offense, why not take the one that has the quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, I have Williams at 37 and Odunze at 41. So, by that logic, sure, I'll take Williams. But I've already spoken to the fact that I don't love. Taking? Yeah, if I'm on the clock, I'm taking Odunze.
100%. Exactly. That's the point. Is projections be damned? Is on the clock. Who are you taking? And it's Rome Odunze, 100%. And now, wrapping the 4th round, because these are all 4th round receivers right now in ADP. Zay Flowers. Yeah, I'm also taking Odunze on the clock. If I'm,
I'll take Zay.
I do think Odunze offers so much more upside. At this point, we know exactly what Zay Flowers is. He's wide receiver 20 to 24. There's not any upside going into that, and there's plenty of downside because he's a 5'9" X receiver that can very easily get hurt.
Yeah.
in an offense that doesn't like throwing the football.
Yeah.
So that's I like Odunze more. If you told me you drafted Zay Flowers over Odunze, fine. That's to me, that's personal preference at that point.
Yeah.
Here's where it gets interesting. Now, I don't think it's interesting with Tet McMillan, unless you really love Tet McMillan. But that's Tet or Rome Odunze, Ryan.
I do love Tet. Tet is
Tetaroa,
a for sure
put some
one.
respect on
I forgot. We're not doing
Tet.
So Tetaroa. I would take Tetaroa McMillan.
Yeah, I would take McMillan as well.
Same. And now here's where I don't think you're going to take Odunze over any of these guys. DK Metcalf, especially after this most recent news. Cortland Sutton.
No.
Chris Godwin.
Nope.
Godwin.
Jordan Addison.
No.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Only because
question mark quarterback situation.
Unknown. Yeah. So again, I have Addison higher in my projections. If I'm on the clock, I'm going to take Odunze.
Yeah, and there you go. Exactly. And that
there's a world where I can see Odunze as the wide receiver 1.
Not a world where you
cannot see that with Jordan Addison.
Yeah,
no,
at all.
But the other part about Odunze is just bumping back 5, and the price feels way more reasonable. You can't.
I agree.
25 is too much.
100%. And then just to round out the 5th round receivers, Jalen Waddle. We're all taking Odunze over Jalen Waddle on the clock.
Yeah, I'm a Waddle hater.
And then Chris Olave.
I'd probably gamble on Olave.
Yeah,
I gamble on Odunze.
You can gamble on either of them, honestly.
The other problem for me
that's
is
really what it feels like. It's a gamble, period.
The other problem for me is
I know that Olave is the wide receiver 1 there.
And that's so I was gonna say the other problem for me is I'm a big believer in DJ Moore, big believer in DeAndre Swift. Rome Odunze doesn't offer the upside for me to have so many eggs in the Chicago basket. So I'm probably never going to have Odunze on my specific rosters.
I probably won't have a lot of Odunze because if he's going where he currently is going with the way I draft, I'm not going to trust him to be a wide receiver 1 for me.
Yeah.
If he falls to a 2, fine, so be it. I like that. But yes, if you move him back 5 spots, which would place him behind Zay, Tet, DK, Sutton, and Godwin.
Makes so much more sense.
Fine. That's perfect. If you backed him up to the wide receiver 30, 31, then he's with Addison, Waddle, Olave.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's where he belongs.
And Jameson Williams is too high, but that's a
that's
a Detroit Lions story for a Detroit Lions show.
Yep.
So yeah, that's why he's a little high for my liking, which I don't love. We already talked about a little bit of a training camp battle, talking about the wide receiver 1, the tight end 1. Do we really feel it's a battle between Kmet and Loveland? That you spent the top 10
This is what I
pick
find
on this
interesting,
guy.
and this is the biggest reason why I put this on here, because they offer different skill sets. Loveland is not a great blocker. Cole Kmet is, right? Cole Kmet has proven that while he's not the most electric pass catcher, he can catch passes even if he doesn't know how to find the end zone. For Loveland, he's coming into this season dealing with a shoulder injury, so there's going to be some time where he may miss, where he's not going to be as up to speed on some of the options. And when you're talking about where he's getting drafted versus where Cole Kmet's being drafted, if I told you that Kmet was the tight end 1 in this offense, now we all know none of us are drafting him anyway, but for the audience that still believes that, hey, Cole Kmet, we've got believers, that's going to be the much better value. And I think it's okay at that price, right? They're going to run plenty of 12 personnel. They're going to complement each other, right? Cole Kmet is better than the Brock Wrights, the Shane Zylstras of the tight end 2s and 3s in Detroit.
Yeah.
So he's going to see more opportunity, even if it's not the tight end 1 type of opportunity, right? Basically, this whole thing is to say Colston Loveland is being vastly overdrafted.
Yes.
Well, yes.
And it's going to make my next comparison sound very, very stupid because I agree that Colston Loveland is not, stop drafting him like Brock Bowers. But last year when Brock Bowers went to the Raiders, everybody was like, oh, him and Michael Mayer present very different skill sets, and it did not matter. And so while I am not pro Loveland, I am very anti Cole Kmet, and I just do not believe this guy should be drafted after a team spent the pick they spent on a tight end. But I will agree with Josh. Loveland is hurt. Cole Kmet likely starts the year as the starting tight end. He will take the first snap for this team. So,
Josh, what's the 12 personnel percentage for Ben Johnson?
Because those backup tight ends were constantly finding the
That's what I'm saying, is they're at least on the field. So I think that it helps Loveland because while Laporta he's from Iowa, he's a world's better blocker. But if you're going to put Loveland in the Laporta role and then put Kmet in the Zylstra, the Brock Wright role, well, yeah, then you have your blocking tight end there. I just don't know how much 12 personnel they ran because I don't really remember like Khalif Raymond was in there as a third receiver in like gadget situations.
Yeah.
So
they ran. Let me see if I can find their 11 personnel ranking.
Yeah,
they ran the 24th most 11 personnel.
So they ran a lot
at 54.2%. They ran the third most 12 personnel.
So there you go. So Kmet's going to see the field, and unlike previous seasons where Kmet is going to be a value, is he will actually score touchdowns now because how the tight end 2 is used in Detroit is goal line. I still to this day don't understand why more teams don't do this. Play action tight end into the
wide
flat.
Open.
Yep. Yes, it open every fucking time you try to run the football from the 1. We're going to run it 2 straight times. Great. Can you run play action?
A little out route.
Yes, literally just run a flat route. It's open every time. And that's what Detroit does. So that's what Ben Johnson does, I should say. Excuse me. So that's where Kmet's going to make his money. But you can't sit here and tell me that Brock Wright or Shane Zylstra was a startable tight end every single week.
Nope.
They each had a week where they were the tight end 1. I will give them that. They did each have a week where they had multiple touchdowns, but it was 1 week.
Yeah.
So don't draft Cole Kmet. No. Also, don't think Colston Loveland is Sam Laporta.
Yeah.
So just
very, very different.
Yeah,
very
I think there's an avenue where Colston Loveland can become like Sam Laporta. I just don't believe it's going to be this year.
No, he's not a blocker. So if you're going to come in a blocking situation, their tight end depth chart, Durham Smythe is the 3rd tight end.
And he's a very good blocking tight end.
Yep. He's on an NFL roster because he can block. He can't do much else. He's not on an NFL roster because he can block. So also shout out Case Keenum, 3rd quarterback. So if you're telling me in a run situation, Colston Loveland might not see the field.
Yeah.
Might be Durham Smythe and Cole Kmet.
Yeah, 100%.
So just know that the tight end 1 will be Loveland on the depth chart, but that does not mean he is the Sam Laporta of this Ben Johnson offense.
Absolutely.
Take that into consideration. Best bets as we wrap up here. Josh, if Caleb Williams 4,000 passing yards, that'll be the first time in Chicago Bears history. That's hilarious. I knew that stat going in.
Yeah.
But it's
that's the thing. It was all talked up last year as well. And Caleb Williams had 3,500 passing yards last year. So, but I go back to this quote when everybody was talking about banning the tush push. And they asked Ben Johnson about it. And he said he's not in favor of it because, quote, I like big plays. He is going to throw the football down the field. Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions averaged 7.6 yards per pass attempt or higher. Guess what Caleb Williams's yards per pass attempt was last year?
4.6.
Yeah, I was to say something terrible, I'm sure.
6.3.
Yeah.
See, I was close if you reverse the numbers.
Exactly.
If you bump Caleb Williams last year just up to 7, which is still lower than anything Ben Johnson ever did.
Yep.
He hits 3,934 passing yards.
Yep.
You see all the...
I say not to mention Detroit's been over 4,000 each of the last 3 seasons. So
if you look at the 3 years that Ben Johnson has called plays, Jared Goff has had 4,400, 4,500, and 4,700 passing yards.
Yeah.
So like the sky is the literal limit for Caleb Williams. Like it's unreal. And you look at all the weapons they have, you look at the improvements on the offensive line. There's no reason Caleb Williams shouldn't hit this number.
I know passing wasn't aggressively introduced into the NFL until like the West Coast offense and Air Coryell and all these things, but you're 103-year-old franchise. How have you never had a 4,000-yard
They've
passer?
always been ground and pound defense running the football.
Well, name me the best quarterback in Chicago Bears history.
Jim McMahon.
Do you want to know
Rex
the second?
Grossman took him to a Super Bowl.
I was about to say the second is Rex Grossman. And that's bad. Rex Grossman is arguably the worst quarterback to start a Super Bowl.
Well, and let's
after
not
Trent
forget, they
Dilfer.
also had Jay Cutler for a time.
Yeah.
And Cutler was
Jay
not afraid
Doggy
to sling the
Dog.
football. Yeah.
Jay Doggy Dog. God, that man was walking depression. Like you could just on his face, he was never happy.
Yeah, he really was. And his appearances on the league, chef's kiss, loved him.
The league takes place in Chicago.
There you
Fans. Elite show. Ryan, DJ Moore over 6.5 receiving touchdowns. That's plus 110 on Caesars.
I mean, you're just betting on them not to get better. If you don't, like, he had 6 last year. You need him to score 1 more. Keenan Allen had 7 last year. Like, it just feels easy. Why not?
Oh, it definitely feels very easy. And then on my side of things, again, I don't give you an exact one. I like to look on the defensive side of the football. Their defense didn't get much better. Not to say their defense was bad last year. I think they were just poorly coached. Guys, I'm not gonna lie, there's nothing good unless you can get a tackle over. Like if you can get a tackle over on TJ Edwards,
I'd be curious what Montez Sweat's over under on sack totals is.
No, do not take the Montez Sweat bait. Do not. Montez Sweat is okay. He's just.
No, I'm not saying he's great.
I know, but to me, Sweat needs somebody opposite him to be good.
Yeah.
Deo Odenigbo is not the guy that he needs opposite him. Unless Shamar Turner, who's a D tackle, turns into something. Grady Jarrett's fantastic. He's ancient. They don't.
I just think it's funny that you look at 2023, the year that he was traded, he accumulated 12.5 sacks that season, led both Washington and Chicago. He had 6 sacks in half a season with Chicago and couldn't even hit that number last year in a full season.
You want to know why, Josh? Would you like to know why?
Because there's nobody opposite him.
Because he's not good. Straight up, Montez Sweat is not good. You want to know what he did that season? What year was that, Josh, in 2023? You want to tell me what year that was?
2023.
Nope. You want to tell me what that was for him, Ryan, though?
Oh,
it was a contract year.
Yeah, no, he got his contract in the middle of that season.
I was like, this is the most confusing worded question I've ever heard.
Josh, sorry, I'm blurry. So you told me he got his contract in the middle of that season, right?
Yeah.
So it was a contract year.
Yeah, it's true.
That's my point. Is it 7, 9, 5, 8, 12.5? Whoa, where did that come from? Yeah. 5.5. Oh, so Montez Sweat's not good? Okay, great. Don't buy into the Montez. If you see a sack line for Montez Sweat, anything over 8, under immediately.
Ooh, yeah.
Smack the shit out of that thing. Oh my God. Montez, there's your bet. Montez Sweat under.
I'd be curious to tackle numbers with TJ Edwards too.
TJ Edwards tackle numbers.
Yeah,
fine.
The site I use is not showing any defensive stuff right now, so I don't know what's going on.
They probably won't come out until closer to the season.
Yeah.
Montez Sweat is overrated. When you play on a defensive line with 4 other first-round picks, you're going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
The first year he wasn't was his lowest sack total outside of 2021 when he played 10 games. Montez Sweat is bad. Gentlemen, that's the Bears. Pretty good. Pretty good team. On paper. This is the Super Bowl winner on paper.
I wouldn't go that far, but certainly
not with that bullshit.
Certainly the fantasy winner.
Possibly. But that's the joke is congratulations, Chicago. You've won the offseason again.
Yes.
Let's see it. So we have to see it to actually believe it here with the Chicago Bears. So we'll see what happens. A lot of this stuff with their offense is definitely going to change. We'll see what happens with DJ Moore. Odunze might slide a little bit, could be a better value. DeAndre Swift could heavily drive up draft boards, but if you're listening to us, he's bad, so he won't. Just leave him there at the 11th round.
We're going to get into some best ball drafts right now and eat that value alive.
Yeah, we all hate DeAndre Swift on the show, so please leave him in the 11th round for me, Ryan, and Josh. I'll take him and just let him rot away on our benches, because why would we ever play DeAndre Swift as the RB1 at RB37? Always remember, defense wins championships, offense wins fantasy football. Who's the next one, Josh?
San Francisco 49ers.
The Golden Boys.
Say, I have some venting to do.
I hope on Kyle Shanahan.
Yes, on everything.
Because same.
Everything.
Well, 49ers on the next one. We will see you on the next one, folks. Always remember, once again, defense wins championships. Offense wins fantasy.